Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm still here after all these years, after all these tears I shed. I'm still here and I'm walking this earth like I should be. There was days that I didn't know if I would be. Yeah, yeah. Now I stand tall with my feet in the ground and my head in the clouds. 'Cause I'm still here like I should be. Yeah, yeah, like I knew that I could be. Here we go, here we go. I'm still here. I'm here.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
My chair is getting creakier every time that I sit in it.
Mine's not.
I don't know. Holy smokes, another week has gone by. And it's podcast time.
Yeah.
Things have been busy, it feels like, but busy in a good way.
Yeah.
So,
Summer's happening, kind of.
summer is happening. Michigan is fighting it.
Yeah. Usually June 1st, we turn a corner.
Sometimes
And
even May.
yeah, and we're into June now, and I shouldn't say that. It was 85 degrees today, but it was 40 mile an hour wind, so it seemed like it was 65. So
Yeah.
we'll get there.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about why people hang out with us a little bit,
Oh, okay.
and also just how I can help my audience, right? The people who choose to follow along with the podcast and YouTube, also on Instagram. And I actually just asked a question about, what do you struggle with the most? Like, what do you struggle with the most when it comes to living with cancer? And overwhelmingly, it is the fear and anxiety that comes along with the diagnosis.
Yeah. Which is normal.
Which is normal. It also is life-sucking. It takes away from quality time. It takes away from how we live our lives. And it's just, I don't know if it gets talked about enough. Everybody acknowledges that it's hard, but that's about it, I feel like.
Yeah.
And
It's somebody, the closest thing would be if somebody followed me around with a gun to my head. And I knew they were there. And people told me, and they even acknowledged, and they're just going to pull the trigger at some point.
yeah.
That's as close as I can get to that feeling of, it could happen, and wait a minute, but I have important things planned, but now this guy's there with the gun to my head, and can I do that? Because he's probably just going to pull the trigger.
Well, and I have children, and I have so much I want to do with this life, and
yeah.
and will they remember me? And wait, this wasn't what I had planned.
Yeah.
And so
How long are you still there?
worried about death? No.
Okay. So, how long do you think you were in that 10 out of 10?
Oh man.
10 out of 10 worrying.
Probably the first couple years, at least. It's a long time, and some people, they don't get past that. It's the constant. It is their life with cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not to say you didn't, obviously, going through that first year of treatment, that was pretty all life encompassing. But even the year after all-time treatment, still doing treatment, but not as intense.
Yeah.
Was there something that it took to get you to a 9?
Some of it is practice, right? I started some techniques really early on to at least, I think one of the things that helped me, at least initially, was like, okay, I'm in this constant spin, this fear, and what can I do to stop it for 1 second. And honestly, it was for 1 second because it felt like it was happening all of the time. So if I could get a minute of relief or a half an hour of relief, and that's what I think has happened, is that the relief, the being able to think about it differently, control the anxiety, that's what has been helpful over the years. But it's a full-time job.
You're practicing to do the most difficult thing in the world. And that is to tell our own brain something different than reality, to be honest with you. The reality is you do have this diagnosis. The reality is that you're dealing with this. But getting to a high anxiety level, stewing on that, going over and over, we all know that's not healthy for our immune system.
Right.
It's not going to function the best. So the question of how do we, because I wish we could go back and look at journals from you and say, wow, I just wasn't talking about that as much anymore. And I didn't talk about it for 3 months in this. Something like that. We don't have anything definitive, but we know it was a 10.
My journaling over the years has been in random places.
Sure. No, but we know starting out it was a 10.
Yeah.
And we know right now it's a fairly normal number that anyone would have even without a diagnosis. I'm saying that. I'm saying you're probably as similar to me in worrying about, is this that? I think we're on a similar number right now. You may be a little higher, but they're both fairly low compared to looking back way back then.
Yeah.
So the question is, when did the changes happen and why? The people that have been diagnosed in the last year, they don't give a shit about that. They don't give a shit about, these things in 10 years. F that. They
what can I do right now?
Exactly.
What can I do right now?
Yes.
And
they'll worry about that 10 years from now.
That's right.
Right,
and we'll be here. We'll be here to talk about that.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. I can say that now. I can say that now. And I know how I used to feel about saying something in the future, like months in the future. And I know that you guys are there too. Yeah. I know that. So it really starts with, for me, challenging those thoughts.
Yeah.
So first, what am I thinking? I'm not going to be here. I want to see my daughter grow up. I want to see my daughter grow up. Like, how she's not going to remember me. That was a huge one for me. She's not going to remember me. And then it's really stopping and saying, one, I cannot say that is true for sure. I do not know that to be true, right? Nobody gets to predict how long I'm going to be here. And then, so what if that's not true? How does that change things for me? How can I think about things a little bit differently? Or why am I thinking about that? Why am I spending my time thinking about that? Which is taking away from my ability to engage and be present and make memories and live life right now.
And I think everybody knows that. And I don't think that would be like some big news to somebody. Wait a minute, me worrying about all this shit all the time is bad for me? Or the question is, how? And it's not, you can't read a book and do this.
No.
You can't read a book and go, oh, if I do these 10 things right, oh, that's it. No, it's a lot of practice. It's a change of behavior.
Repetition and practice. And it is literally doing it 100 times a day, 1,000 times a day. It
truly is. And whenever we're trying to create a new habit, which that's what you're doing, in the most extreme circumstances, you're trying to create new habits. And these habits are countering thoughts with, it depends on you. It depends on the listener.
What works for you.
Exactly. For you, you've said before, and in your book, you've said, if it's 1 in a million, why can't I just be the one? And to repeat that, and it sounds so stupid, but if we understand the power of the brain and the power, I want to say placebo effect, because that's just the closest thing that we're talking about here. The placebo effect is factual. There has been studies done where people have gotten no drug whatsoever, yet have the similar results as somebody who's been given a drug, and they shouldn't have. They shouldn't have, and they did. So why is that? It's our immune system, and our immune system is run by our brain. So the power of the brain, you reprogrammed your brain to some extent through time after time, like you said, hundreds or thousands of times in the same day of catching yourself with a thought and then replacing it with a, yeah. It's kind of having a coach always there with you going, no, you can do it. You can do it.
It's also, your brain doesn't really know what's true.
It's true.
So so again, if I'm going to think about, somebody said I was going to die in 6 months, and my brain takes that to be true, how is that more true than I'm going to be alive in 6 months?
No.
It's not any different. And it's okay, I'm going to go with this one. The other thing that comes quickly with that, there's a couple of things, but one thing is, you were talking about managing, like me as somebody living with cancer, managing my thoughts all the time. But you are also constantly reading everybody else who are not helping you.
Poisoning the water.
They are poisoning the water. I spent a ton of time home alone when I was in that first year. Part of it was just circumstances, but a lot of it was really good because it wasn't a look from somebody that I knew. You live this, who is like already given up on, yes, who is already, oh yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? It really is about, okay, it's hard enough to deal with my thoughts. So who is going to be around me that can help support me in my vision of living a life with cancer that is good, that is long, that is all of these things. It doesn't have to be exceptional. It is about who can walk with me through a day and see the beauty in the day, help me stay in the moment. All of these things versus continually bring more doubt my way.
Yeah, that's a great word, doubt, because that's what it is. It is,
Yes.
and we don't want to throw it out there. From the athletic side in me, I was always scared and we had some really good teams, but to stand up in the front of everybody at the beginning of the season and go, we're going to go try to win a state title.
Yeah.
That was just, whoa, that's just so big. Yet that's what it takes. That is what it is. It's truly that belief, but it's getting rid of doubt.
Yeah.
And that's a practice behavior.
Yeah. One of the things I wrote down with that is I often think about, I think one of the things that's hard for me sometimes is like, what if I fail? And I don't want to be a failure, but like
A fraud.
Yeah. But
That's later. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Failure, yes.
A failure. But then I always think of the quote that says, but what if you fly? But what if you fly? And unless you really do it, you won't know.
And words are big for you. Quotes are big
really
for
big
you.
yeah.
And it's equally as powerful. The words you write down
Yes.
are sometimes equally as powerful as the words you read, and some of them hit you in the right spot. And you're just like, you remember them forever. You're a quote person when it pertains to certain things. And I think that's important. Other people might strictly be visual.
Yeah.
And the words don't, but it's that picture of a strong person, and that matters. What is your thing? What, for you, you got to figure that out. Because if you have these go-tos to keep coming back to.
To always be able to counter, the negativity is going to be there. So how are you going to counter it? And also, how are you going to lessen it? Like, how are you going to lessen it by numbers so it doesn't happen as often? But also, how are you going to be able to talk yourself down from the severity of it? When you're talking about writing or journaling, I do find that to be pretty effective. And even people who aren't writers, write down your fears, because it's just like writing a grocery list. I can write a grocery list, leave it on my counter, like physically write it, leave it on my counter, and remember everything that was at the store. Because I've written it, and that goes into my brain in a different way. Same thing. You can use it both to help program. I am going to live a long, healthy life. Cancer does not define me. All of these things. You can also dump things. You can use it as a conversation. I have done that with situations that have been a struggle for me, where I have said what I wanted to say on paper, and it's as good as saying it to the person. It's gone. It's really, it can be.
And for me, I don't work that way. I don't think that would be as effective for me as I need another human to hear it.
Yeah.
I need that. I need to tell you.
Yeah.
Even the hard things or whatever, in those, if our roles were reversed, I would need to tell you my fears. And you did tell me a lot of your fears. And
let's talk about your response.
Okay. So it is as tough because I don't want to be the false hope person. If we're talking about something very specific, I'm scared of this surgery because if that's a real fear that you should have because of the rehab from it or whatever, I'm not saying you squat. Oh no, it's going to be fine. You're going to be great. You're going to be running out of the hospital. I'm not talking about that. But some of those fears, when you were spinning in that first year or two, I felt my job was to look at the other side and to remind you because you already knew, but it was just to give validation maybe to that thought that you were going back to. I'm like, you're on the right track there. That is absolutely true. And I think when somebody does validate, maybe even something you think is crazy or something you think is way out there and somebody validates it, you go, okay, I'm not the only one thinking that.
Who's your hype squad? You need a hype squad.
You do.
And you know what? That's how amazing things get done in this world, is one person has one crazy idea. I am going to be the one in a million. And then you have a bit of a hype squad and you shut off the rest of the world.
And everybody I was around, I was telling them what she was going to do. I honestly was. I was like your cheerleader there. And now when they have a conversation with you, they're looking at you different. Yeah. They're like, wow, you're going to do that. And they may have some doubt. That's okay.
Yeah.
They're also going, no, I think you're the shit. You're something.
Well, and there's a little bit of separation from that.
In it.
You do. You believe. You do. Like,
some amazing things in this world have been done exactly what we're describing right now. And they have nothing to do with cancer.
Absolutely.
But, wow, people have done amazing things because they started to believe it. Others saw them, and you know the people who give off that energy. Yeah. They just give off that, you're somebody different.
And I will say to that, I wasn't anybody different before
Not at all.
this.
Not at all.
As normal as...
Like, we were the most boring normal humans.
White, middle class, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
But you were put under a gun, and your response was not, and I don't want to downplay anybody, but your response was not folded up, oh, woe me. It was not that. Maybe for a day it was, but literally, and we had help in all of this. We had hype squads. We had a doctor who believed in you, an oncologist. We had other people in the medical community who saw you and believed in you.
And you have to think about the people who you really trust and what why they garnish that trust from you. I'll say again, like when I think about my brother was my hype squad, I have been very much taught that boys are smart and brothers, I knew he was smart, but also he had the title of doctor and I respected that. So when he was saying, can be that one, I was like, dang, if he thinks I can.
And I remember that he was fairly confident about that.
Yeah.
Like he was, yeah. Now what he thought after the phone call or after the visit, I don't know. It
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
That's the thing, you guys. I just think sometimes when we talk about cancer, we spend so much time analyzing the types and the medicines and all of that stuff. And God love you. That's fine. But
no, it's not fine.
You're right.
Stop doing that.
You're right.
If you're on this podcast to learn something and you're somebody who's commenting on Instagram, God bless you. Way to go. But stop doing that searching where it's the opposite of what she did. Literally the opposite. And if you continue doing it, bad things are coming into your head that don't need to be there. Set up a team, set up your bubble, and you start practicing these methods. Here's proof. She's sitting right here that, man, and I'm not saying that, the medicine did nothing and it was just from her mindset but I'm telling you what, there was thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands of people who in a similar scenario were given the exact same medicines as Heather and same treatments. There's something. The mindset was just so big, I can't discount it.
Yes. Build the bubble. That is important. Yeah. You don't have to know everything. In fact, it's probably better not to.
Yes.
I do on a regular basis have conversations with people via social media that are asking me all of these things. And if you pay attention, you'll hear me come back at, I don't know. I don't read side effects. Or
I don't want to know.
I don't want to know. Or I'm not looking. I'm not expecting something bad to happen. I'm expecting something good to happen.
And this is not blind faith. This is not, I don't want to know, just take care of me. No, it's not that. It's give the quick reason why, especially with the side effects.
With the side effects, because I know how my brain works and I know how your brain works too. We tend to focus on the things we hear about. So you hear side effects of whatever, say you're taking a medicine, it's awesome, terrible diarrhea. Guess what? You get a little bit of diarrhea, even though you tend to have diarrhea. Oh, it's from the medicine. No, it's just you. It's your body. It's fine. So I could not,
which is
spend
completely
the time.
Normal when you hear a side effect, you
no. But the other thing with that is that I think we've been trained to believe that we are not doing our job or doing due diligence if we don't know everything. You don't need to know everything. Surround yourself with good people. Put them in charge of knowing things. The best leaders delegate things, right? You need to spend all of your energy on healing. And healing comes from positive thoughts, from allowing your body to de-stress, from the medicines that come in, from feeling like you are taking care of your body, be it physically, nutritionally, all of these things. If you think about what is a environment that creates healing, that's what you need to create.
And I think if a lot of people listening here truly analyze their environment right now, you already know.
Yeah.
Right now, like the things that are not really a positive in your bubble.
Yeah.
And if you want to take that 9 to an 8, or that 7 to a 6, or that 10 to a 9, you have to make changes.
Yeah.
You do. I wish it wasn't that case. And there were people in your life that were not really in the forefront of your life during that time, during that big time right there. And they could have come back in when you but your anxiety, you have a gun to your head, you got to deal with you.
Yeah.
And that's what I witnessed when you went through it. And it was very impressive. And I couldn't explain any of it then. I really didn't even know any of it was going on because just the chaos of it. Yeah. But we get the privilege of looking back on.
Yeah.
That's our privilege that we get there. And there are lessons to be learned from that. So when I do see those posts like on Instagram, I go, heck yeah, I can see that. That is absolutely normal. That would be me too. But I think you also, if you don't like where you're at, you need to make some changes. And she just went through a bunch here on little things you can do. You're not going to get overnight success. Everything she said, she was practiced. It was hundreds or thousands of times in a day and day after day until you just start going there first. And you start telling other people that.
And also, what are the small wins? Like we've talked about low-hanging fruit. What are the things that you can add into your day that immediately just puff you up a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Woo, I feel good I did that. And then that builds on the next thing, right? Oh. Who is the person that you can talk to every day that's going to help build you up a little bit? Who is the person, and they might be very close to you, that you need to just take a step away from?
You don't have to write them out of your life.
No.
You just need to find a wall there.
Yeah.
Or have somebody help you with it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or have a tough conversation and say, I can't do this right now. You know what I mean? It is an opportunity for growth in some of those situations, unfortunately. Like you have to, you're number one, right? In the midst of all of this. And
if you're 6 years out right now, if you're 8 years out, you know you're not at a 1.
Yeah.
Because you have metastatic cancer.
Right.
You understand? You're not at a 1. You're just not. And I wish we could give you some advice to say, oh, it's gone. Or that drama. It does help. I know in your kind of time from year 1 to 26. You've had some ups and downs with that and had to go back, and you would get out the journal again.
That's
and
what I'm saying. That's what I was going to say. That's when you double back down, right?
Yeah.
That's when you do get out the visualization. That is when you go back
now have that
to
tool
the basics.
in your tool belt.
Yeah, get back to that tool. Get back to listening to what hypes you up, or like all of those things. Get back to your smoothie. Get back to the things that are like, okay, I feel good about that.
And,
you know?
and we talked about this a little earlier in the day, and just what's the downside of putting positive thoughts in your head? What's the downside of journaling and getting rid of those negative thoughts? What's the I can't think of one.
There isn't one.
So let's do something productive and do your best. That's what you can do, is be positive.
Yeah.
And work your butt off. This is now your job.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, if you're 8 years out right now, but you are still just every thought of a vacation or a wedding or those kind of things, you're spinning in oh my gosh, and you're not telling anybody about it. It's just in your head. And I understand how it works. You got to start replacing that with, yes, I will be.
Yeah.
And here's what I'm going to buy that dress right now for the wedding that's 3 years from now. Damn it. Because I'm going to do that. That's the putting your foot down part, and that a little cockiness. It's not a bad thing in this realm.
And also, again, instead of thinking about the future all the time, it's also about what's going on today. I feel like there's like this onus of you have to be prepared for. No, you don't have to be prepared. Mm-mm. You just have to keep going and figure out what works for you. And I will say, for the people who are working full time and managing all these things, this can't be an additional to-do list. It has to be viewed in a way that you feel like it is helpful.
Yeah.
It's helping you. There isn't a time requirement on it. There's amazing things that can be done in 5 minutes or less. You can go to sleep every night listening to a visualization. I did it for years. I still do it occasionally. That's not taking time out of your day. That's just changing your habits. There are ways to incorporate this in until we can get our societies to understand how difficult it is to live with a disease, on top of the fact that we're doing life full time. You're going to have to figure out how to manage it and how to speak up for yourself, and what are the concessions you can make. And if you're working, do you have an employer who can help you or is willing to help you? If they're willing to help you, by all means, take advantage. Let them help you. FMLA, all of those kind of things are really important. And I get really tired of it being insinuated that you aren't working as hard or you're not pulling your weight when you live with metastatic cancer. That is a fault of our society. The whole bootstraps, fuck your bootstraps. It makes me so mad. It is such a privileged thing to say that people don't do when they have so many obstacles against them. Right. So you have to just do you. Find the helpers. Find the people who will help you.
And I don't think we did a great job if we put out a 5 to Thrive, I don't know when, last year or something. Yeah. We put that out, and I don't think we did a great job of saying, hey, in this case, in the 5 to Thrive, it gives you tools to go through this. We were thinking and talking about the anxiety. We were thinking about that person and what can you do on a daily basis stuff. It's in there. So if you're someone who's like, yeah, I listen to your podcast, I like some of those things you said, but it's in the 5 to Thrive guide.
All in the under mental.
Yes.
Which is mental. Now we've changed to mindset. Yep. But honestly, this is the topic that we talk about and is like the heaviest on my heart. The most important to me in terms of how can I help you? Because
if you are having high anxiety and the thoughts are always you're normal. Yes. You're normal. Yes. That is what we are programmed to do. You got to find tools, and you can get we lead you through that in the 5 to Thrive. But these are the hard things that you have to do and you can get better. You can get just a little bit better.
Yeah, and that's it. I think when you start out and your world is spinning, if you can get a few minutes of relief, like we talked about, and then if you can get a little bit longer where you can then be, oh my gosh, I just watched a whole show and didn't think of cancer. I just spent time at the park with my daughter, and it was awesome. You know, it's that careful balance between being in the moment and not being future oriented, just being in the moment. All right, you guys, I have a feeling we'll be talking about this more this summer. We're a little too fired up right now to take a break.
It's good engaging with you guys and seeing what's on your minds.
Yeah. All right. Have a good week. Thanks so much for watching and being a part of our community. It means the world to us. Our goal is always to help as many people as possible live well with cancer. You can help us by subscribing to our channel and sharing episodes when you hear of others that could benefit from it. We really appreciate your time spent with us and your commitment to offering hope and inspiration to others.